tell you what, I'm finishing my 2.5 years with a 4.0 GPA, which
buddy.
Which is wonderful. And my undergraduate, I didn't know numbers went that high. So,
Hello and welcome to Grass Touchers, the show where we talk about trying to keep up with these kids that keep destroying us in online competitive video games and what it's like to grow up and continue to play video games as a hobby. I am Jake.
And I am Greg.
You'll notice, unfortunately, the third Grass Toucher is unfortunately missing this week. Jared is a little sick, and he's under the weather enough as to need to bail out this evening. So it's just me and Deg. We're going to take you for a little ride here, a little short and sweet episode. We're going to talk about a little bit of real life. But first, Greg, what have you been playing lately, bro?
Well, I haven't been playing a lot of video games recently. Real life, I've got I'm a high school music teacher, so concert this week, and I'm graduating with my master's degree this weekend, which is awesome. We're going to talk about that in a second.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, we're talking
proud
about
of
that.
our boy, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up. Give it up for Dag.
Yeah, thank you. This weekend, that will be happening. So family's coming in town. My mother flew in last night, and so haven't had a ton of time. However, the one thing I have been doing is figuring out the whole emulation side of my Steam Deck.
Very cool. How's that going?
So it's been good setting that up. It is far more complex than I thought it was going to be, which is, it's totally fine. Luckily, I've been using a program called EmuDeck, which is very common. People use. But there's, with emulation, there's a lot of files you have to download. You have to do it all correctly. And there was a whole thing where you have to download the certain things onto a USB and then transfer those onto an SD card that you put in the Steam Deck. And so just figuring out kind of the nomenclature of what you download, where, and how you move that, and what systems you use to do all that has kind of been a thing, but it's been fun and exciting. I've been watching a lot of videos, and those of you that are not grass touchers out there that are mentally making fun of me, number one, I understand.
Or just out loud in their car right now.
Or out loud in your car yelling at me going, "Oh, you idiot, you like, it's so easy." It's like, no, literally, like, I have a master's degree and I had to watch a 45-minute video to even begin to understand how to do this. So, like...
Well, and it doesn't help that it is, it's a Linux operating system. So if you are in the SteamOS and you hit exit to desktop, it's not like, Windows sort of familiar territory.
Sure.
So I'm sure that's, and to your credit, I work in IT and I haven't touched any of that stuff. And I don't really use Linux at work to speak of.
Absolutely.
Anyway. I took a Linux class in college, but I didn't actually invest any time in it on my own time on the Steam Deck or anything yet. So, best of luck with that. That'll be something. I can't wait to hear what you end up playing. Yeah,
thanks, man. It's like when you go in, the EmuDeck thing is like what I have been using and been watching a lot of guides, and there's just so many steps, right, depending on if you're gonna be playing a Dreamcast game, for example, which I'm a sucker for a Sega Dreamcast game.
Oh yeah,
like give me some Sonic Adventure, give me some Power Stone 1 and Power Stone 2.
I remember Power Stone. I remember at our after school like daycare program thing that I had to go to. My mom actually was getting her master's degree, and my dad was in the military, and so after school we still hung out at this place, and the like director dude, he would bring in like his own bucket of Legos, and we would all build stuff, and he would bring in his Dreamcast, and he booted up Power Stone one time, and it was like, if you win you keep playing kind of thing. And I had never heard of this game before because I didn't have Dreamcast. I was a GameCube guy, and I remember playing Power Stone 1 or 2, I don't remember, just like back to back because I kept winning because I figured the game out, and so it was like this line of kids that I was just demolishing. It was fun.
Yeah, man, Power Stone is one of those, and I could do an entire podcast about Power Stone because my brother and I probably sank 2 entire years of our lives as, 10 and 11-year-olds in 2000 and 2001 into Power Stone 1 and 2. But that game is like Smash if there were no limitations, right? Like you can
that was the comparison I made too, because like I said, I was a Nintendo kid and I was playing on the GameCube or the N64 and I was playing Super Smash Bros with my pals. It was like that, but in this like 3D environment that was really cool.
Yeah, like fully 3D realized environment, and you can interact with you can actually interact with the environment similar to Smash and stuff. It's a cool game, but all that to say, using ROMs for or emulating Dreamcast is different in terms of the process and setup as compared to Nintendo 64 or Switch, which requires a lot of legwork on Switch from what I'm reading. Like the newer the system, right, the more legwork there is in terms of things you have to download and things you have to set up. So in any case, it's a kind of a big rabbit hole to go down, and I'm excited about it. I'd be lying if I said that I did not buy the Steam Deck primarily to emulate games. The idea that I can play anything. Yeah. So anyways, that's kind of what I've been doing recently, has been getting my Steam Deck ready to emulate games. What about you, Jake?
Oh, I've been doing a little bit of Steam Decking myself. Not emulation, of course, but still run through Mass Effect 2. I told myself I would not do a mega completionist kind of run on this run that I'm doing of the whole trilogy. And I stuck to that in Mass Effect 1. There was some side stuff that I did, some that I did not. Because I've played that before, I know what the payoff will be in Mass Effect 2 or Mass Effect 3. But in Mass Effect 2... you're really at a big disadvantage if you don't do some of the loyalty missions for each of the characters. And I won't go too far into detail about that because I won't. Sure. I want you to play it one day and check it out. But the loyalty missions, you have to go talk to your squad mates, and then after you talk to them enough times, they'll open up about those things, or just enough time will pass by. They'll say, hey, when you got a second, I want to talk to you about something. Then you go talk to them, and they tell you it. They give you some of their backstory, and most of the time, your loyalty mission is them telling you a little bit about their history and this conflict that they had or this thing that went on, and you get to go to a place and run a mission with and for them. And the reward for that loyalty mission is that they get a bonus power. So they get some ability that they didn't have before. And it's that's way more fun. I want them to have that ability. Some of them anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Some of them are more worth it than others. So I'm just trying to be selective about that. But those of you that have played Mass Effect 2 before, I am doing loyalty missions now because I am about to do the Reaper IFF mission where you have to go do a thing. So anyway, and then I've been playing PUBG just a little bit. Have you and I played since we recorded last?
We played
just run one, maybe.
We ran one a few days ago. Yeah,
maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Anyway, been playing that by myself just here and there.
No, we ran two.
That's right, we did. That's right. We were like, oh, we should go again. I ran a couple by myself in the casual mode, where you go to the original map, and there's only 8 real players, and everybody else is AI. And so it's a chance to just kind of warm up. You can drop wherever you want, get a bunch of kills on the AI, and then see if you can make it to the top from there. And I've got some chicken dinners. I've won that a couple times. It was really fun. There's a clip that I'm going to put on the Instagram channel later, actually, where it was down to 3 guys, me and 2 others. And I had an advantage where I could flank around and be looking up this hill at where I knew shots were coming from. And I saw the guy, and he had a Dragunov big old sniper out, and he was shooting at guy number 3. And so I saw he was scoped in. I was out of his field of vision. There's no way he sees me. And so I pulled up my my own, I think it was a Mark 12. I had a DMR, and I aimed at him, and I just literally had center mass ready to go from 100 yards away. And he had no idea I was there, and I was waiting for him to kill the other guy. And as soon as he did, I saw the little thing went, so-and-so killed so-and-so with a Dragunov. He went to reload, and I was like, pop, 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 pop. I win.
Dude.
And it was perfect timing. It was so fortunate. It's really gratifying. It's sort of like we talked about in Siege, where there's certain just no-win scenarios. Your opponent is hosed. Everything is in your favor. And that was a fun time. And then what I'll talk about in a little bit is I was downloading. I downloaded some more games onto my Steam Deck for a trip I have coming up. And so I'm looking forward to jamming on some of those as well.
Very cool, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. So tell me more about the master's degree. Congrats again.
Thank you.
That's a big deal. Not everybody gets to that. I don't know if I'll ever get a master's degree, to be honest with you. Tell me about like how you arrived at the conclusion I should go get one. What was it like getting into the program you wanted to get into? What's it like to successfully navigate getting a friggin' master's degree?
Yeah, man. Thank you for asking. So I think that to answer the question of why I did the master's degree in the first place is some of the best advice that was given to me in my undergraduate degree was that you should be a forever student. You know, the idea that you should never stop learning and never stop improving. And I really took that to heart. And as I began my career teaching music, there were some things that I just kind of realized that maybe I don't know as much as I thought I did. And that's a tough, lesson to learn, right? You do an undergraduate degree at a good school, which we both went to, the same place, and learned a lot, but there are just certain things that you got to learn in the real world. And as I made it through the first, I'm in year 8 of my teaching career. As I made it through the first, 4 or 5 years, I kind of went, is there a place that I can learn some of the things that maybe I'm missing out on? And I want to be a good example for my students. I want my students to see that I'm a forever student, that I am forever trying to improve and become a better teacher and musician. And so I sought out the school that I go to, which I will not name on this podcast.
Sure.
But it's a wonderful institution in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Very good school. And they have a program that is geared towards full-time working teachers to get a master's degree in music education in 3 years. And I managed to do it in 2.5, which is pretty cool.
That's wild to me that you pull it off. It's so good.
Yeah, and I'll talk about that in a second. But everyone in my program, except for the master's students that are like coming straight out of undergrad, there are like a few of those in the program that like are full-time master's students, but the vast majority of the people in my program are part-time and have full-time jobs like I do.
Right.
And so what I do is I go to work 8 to 5 every day. And then one day a week, I drive an hour plus to class for 3 hours one night. And so it's essentially one class or maybe 2, depending on if you're crazy like me, per semester. Right. It's great. I've learned so much, and balancing that has been tough. But I've learned a lot. The faculty is incredible. The other students that I'm there with are very knowledgeable and very kind people, very good teachers. And it's cool being in classes mostly with people that have families and children and careers, and it's just a different perspective, and I appreciate it. Yeah. I tell you what, I'm finishing my 2.5 years with a 4.0 GPA, which
buddy,
which is wonderful. And my undergraduate, I didn't know numbers went that high, so yeah. So yeah, it's encouraging. Reminding myself that I can still be like an academic, I can still be a student, even though I'm in the workforce. That's encouraging, right?
Well, and I think there's something to be said for, like you said, being a continual student. And to be clear to our listeners, colleges do not hold all of the keys to your future. It's just that for some careers, a master's degree makes a ton of sense because of the depth that you get to go into, right? The undergrad, even though you feel like you know everything when you leave, you freaking don't. And you have a wide array of knowledge that you get in an undergrad, whereas a master's, you take that same breadth of knowledge and like bring it all down a level to go deeper. So in your case, yeah, a master's degree made a lot of sense. And there was a a point that you just decided, if I'm going to be a consummate professional, if I'm going to really, really know my stuff, if I want to get deeper into these domains of teaching, this is the thing that I need to do. And being a lifelong learner is a big deal. You know, that's something that I get a lot of compliments on at my work. It's something that people look for when they are hiring. It's like, are you going to stagnate if we give you this new job that you want so bad, or you say you want so bad? Do you even want this job? You know, like, they question your drive immediately if you're not somebody who wants to keep learning, because unless you're literally retiring in 2 years, you should probably still be learning something. And I think that's safe to say that goes for like every field out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that, you know, that thought was kind of the impetus for why I decided to do it.
Right.
As far as finishing early, I doubled up a few semesters, and I have a very supportive wife who encouraged me to do that. And so I kind of went a little bit faster with the idea that we probably would be in the process of starting our family and trying to have a baby. So getting it done earlier than planned was ideal.
Right.
And so I did it. And so anyways, graduating this Saturday, and my family's coming into town, and it's going to be a blast and a half. I've got a 23-pound brisket that I'm going to be smoking with my dad.
Nice.
Which is like, it's a little frightening, because the biggest brisket I've ever done is 13 pounds, so like 10 pounds bigger.
I was gonna say, trim off of that whatever you can. God dang, this humongous.
Yeah, I'm just gonna mail it to you, dude.
I will gladly accept a brisket that's been in the mail.
Well, and the only reason I even have a 23-pound brisket is my wife saw it on sale like 4 months ago, so it's been frozen in our fridge since, I don't know, July or August, you know.
Oh yeah.
And talk about like the process of smoking a brisket. 23-pound brisket, they say that you should thaw in the fridge 1 day, so 24 hours for every 5 pounds. So
has it been in the fridge for like a week then now?
it's been in the fridge since Sunday. We're recording on Wednesday. It's been in the fridge since Sunday thawing. It'll be done by Friday when my dad gets here from the airport.
Right.
Like,
and then the real work begins, where you got to do a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, then you gotta cut, you gotta trim it and season it, and so we could, of course, do an entire podcast about smoking meat.
Dude, I'm telling you,
which I would totally be down for. By the way,
maybe we'll have a segment like that one day. I tell you what, I've got a trip coming up tomorrow, man. I'm going. Happy holidays and Christmas and Kwanzaa and Hanukkah and everything to everybody. We're taking a little trip out to Arizona to see my dad, and one of the things I wanted to talk about was what it's like to be a tech bro with like lots and lots of gadgets and a family of 4, and trying to get out the door tomorrow morning at 7:20 a.m. with all of the people and all of the things and all of the chargers and like all the stuff. There's a real dance that you kind of have to do around each other when you're getting ready to go to a place. You know, we're going for like 4 days, and so that's just enough time that you got to pack, make sure you don't forget something. So I've got a couple things I did today. Number one, I am blessed with a job that allows me to work from home from time to time, and I did that today. And so like on my lunch break, you know, I can sit there in the afternoon and like eat a sandwich and fold some clothes and whatever. And so I was doing that, folding clothes and grabbing a couple suitcases and that kind of thing. And then as I wrapped up at the end of my workday, I took some pictures of what I was picturing we should do next, and I sent them to my wife, who was on her way home. I was like, hey, you know, blue suitcase for me and you, red suitcase for the 2 boys. Here's where the iPad is charging. Here's what I'm thinking we're going to put all the devices in. Here's a backpack. And then here's a duffel bag, which is our carry-on for like other stuff. Because I do that thing where I over-prepare if certain criteria are being met. I'm not a prepper. Contrary to what some of my more hairy leg, purple hair folks out there might think, I'm really not a prepper. It's just that I have been absolutely screwed over by misfortune, and I think you can relate. I remember Casey, she had a bag problem when you guys flew out here one time. You remember that? She had a bag that didn't make it?
Yes, that
and
happened.
That was such, and so that's what I mean when I say over prepare. What I do with the duffel bag is because of the length of our trip, we are going to check 2 bags, but they're not huge. And they're just going to have all of our clothes and like a couple toiletries in them. And I'm looking at our flight schedule where we have to connect and then change planes. If we didn't have to change planes, I wouldn't care. But because we're changing planes, I'm going to prepare ahead of time for the unfortunate non-zero chance that a bag gets, lost or something, I'm taking a carry-on and making it so everybody in the family has one change of clothes in the carry-on. So if we need to survive for 24 hours, we have the clothes we want, Bottom line, I could go to, my dad could pick us up from the airport. We go to Walmart and I'll get an outfit, but I just don't want to have to do that. So I've got that going on. And chargers, dude, oh my gosh, the bane of my existence, right? Earlier today, I went to charge up an iPad and AirPods and the cameras for our home camera system. And I was looking for the stupid things that go in the wall. I've got the USB cords coming out of my butt, but I don't have the stupid thing that goes into the wall. So I had to go find those. Yeah, the actual bricks. And so I was running around, but I found what I needed. And I got I have a sweet multi-tap USB. So it plugs into the wall, but there's 3 USB things coming off of it. I took advantage of that. And I am charging all the things as we speak. I updated, our router firmware and the home camera hub thing. I updated that firmware and I charged up all the cameras and I put them up where they go. And just kind of doing an ops check, I highly recommend to anybody that's about to travel. If you own a home, but even if you rent, if you've got cameras, the Ring doorbell, kind of whatever. I kind of get a kick out of setting up, the castle for us to leave. Because my sister-in-law who lives with us, she'll be here for some of the time, but she's not going to stay here the whole time. She's going to go hang out and do whatever she wants to do. So she's not house sitting for us full time or anything. We don't have any pets to worry about. I'm just getting the cameras all squared away. So that brings me to the Steam Deck, my most important travel buddy other than my wife and children.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is not a Steam Deck podcast. I just want to make that clear.
It feels like it sometimes.
Putting the juju out there into the universe for Valve to fully sponsor us.
Oh,
wink, wink.
Come on,
this is not an official Steam Deck podcast.
Give me some of those Valve bucks. Yeah. So the Steam Deck, as we've said more than once on this podcast, freaking rules. Love it to death. Been playing it all the time. And this is its time to shine, right? I can take PC gaming on the go with a controller kind of format. And I thought, I'm probably not going to want to play Mass Effect the whole time. I'll probably play Into the Breach. I'll probably play Roller Drome. Those are the main 3 I've been rotating through for right now. Let me get something that when my kids are bugging me because their iPad died and they want to watch me play a game, let me get something that's kind of friendly to them. And I got a game a while ago on PC called Lego Builder's Journey. And it is an official Lego game that on my PC runs in 4K with ray tracing, and it's really beautiful. If you ever sort of Google it sometime, it's really sweet. Lego Builder's Journey. And you play, there's a little story there of a kid and a dad, little Lego figures, and the dad has to go to work. And then the kid goes into this kind of dreamscape and he's building stuff, and you just click and drag all these Lego pieces and they look so realistic. It's real, almost stop motion, click, 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 click. The sound is very ASMR, very satisfying. So I threw that on the Steam Deck, and then I grabbed Atomic Heart, which is a game I played on PC for a little while and then kind of bounced off of and got distracted by something else, but I really like it. It's kind of a BioShock kind of a game with a Russian twist. And then I grabbed Control, which is very good. For those of you that aren't aware, Control takes place in the Alan Wake universe. They're all tied together by the same publisher, which is really rad. I haven't played the Alan Wake games. I would like to. I hear they're wonderful, but I haven't touched them yet. I've played
the newest one got really good reviews.
Oh, huge! Yeah, glowing reviews. So I'm gonna see. Control was kind of more my style. It's got a sci-fi Men in Black kind of thing going on. And I put that on the Steam Deck. So I'm going to give a little tip here. This is what I really came here to say about the Steam Deck, right? If you put a game on the Steam Deck and you haven't actually played it on the Steam Deck yet, don't walk out the door to go on your trip until you have booted up the game on the Steam Deck. I say that with two cases in mind that this came up to me. On Mass Effect, you have to boot up the game, and then it brings up EA, and then you have to log into your EA account for the first time, and then it shows that you owned the game. Because if you buy it on Steam, what you're really buying it is through EA, or at least what I did.
Sure.
And you have to log in, and there's a separate portal for that. If I get on the airplane and don't have any Wi-Fi, and I was playing Mass Effect for the first time on my Steam Deck, I would have to pay for Wi-Fi on the plane and all this stuff, because I fly Southwest most of the time, and I'll pay the $7, but like, what if my flight's only an hour and a half and it's like not really worth it. The other example was for Atomic Heart. They have some shaders that need to load up specifically for the Steam Deck to optimize gameplay. And so on my lunch break today, as I was doing all this sort of stuff to prep, I grabbed the Steam Deck, had downloaded that game, and hit play, and it ran like booty hole. Just like at the loading screen, it was like stuttering already, and then it does this like title screen where the main character, like, how Rainbow Six Siege, there's like the character kind of walks on, and there's like a little animation playing in the background of the menu.
Yeah,
it's like that.
The changes depending on the season, yeah.
Correct. It's like that, but for the main character of Atomic Heart. And so he was like stuttering, and I was like, uh-oh. It says this game is great on deck, what gives? And so I looked at the settings menu, and it said that it was running at 1080p, which is not a resolution that the Steam Deck even does, and that it was like set to these settings that are not good for the Steam Deck. And then I saw the loading bar pop up at the title screen, hey, we're loading up the shaders. And so I was like, all right, I'm just going to set this down, plugged into power, and let it finish setting up this game for me. And sure enough, I went back. It said that the loading of the shaders had been completed. I went to the display settings, and it had automatically switched to 800p, which is the native resolution of the Steam Deck. So if anybody out there is joining us on the Steam Deck train, just be sure to boot up those games one time before you walk out the door if you're going to truly play on the go. And be a mobile gamist. You want to kind of ops check those games before you roll out, because there's just some worthwhile checks to make before you head out. So that's what I'm looking forward to this trip, man. Gonna see some family, gonna do a lot of fun stuff, and see how the Steam Deck really performs in its natural in the wild, in its natural
in the wild where it's intended. Yeah,
that's right. 30,000 feet.
It's so funny to me. Like every time, like the title of our podcast is Grass Touchers, which implies that we're like the average, adult that has a real life and has real responsibilities, and we just happen to like video games a lot, or
right.
Multimedia. And then I go on Steam and I look at Jake's Steam profile and I click on games.
Uh-oh.
And it says 104 games. And I go, this guy is not a grass toucher.
But did you see the age of my account?
Yeah, well, and obviously I fully believe our old pal Jake is a grass toucher. However, just the optics of it, Jake. Come on, man. The optics.
I know.
If anyone were to find your Steam account, like 104 games, and to be fair, as you go further down the list, you can see how many hours he's played each game.
Yeah.
It's like Rainbow Six Siege 1,000 something hours. This next game, this many hours, and like 5 games later, it's like 20 hours. It's like it very quickly gets to like normal human numbers. So I just pulled up my Steam. I looked at that the other day and I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I just pulled up my Steam profile now that you mentioned it, because I never really look at it. I have 91 hours in PUBG. That checks out, right? I've played in the past and whatever. Atomic Heart, I lasted a good 4 hours before I put it down and got distracted by something else. Control, 2 hours. But there's a theme that has been applied to my Steam profile that on the Steam Deck looks one way, and here on PC, like, almost
fully animated. Yeah,
it's so bright and ridiculous. I had no idea it would look this way when I pull it up on browser.
Looks like a cyberpunk theme, honestly. The first time I saw it, I was like, that looks like something from some
it's very
retro
like
80s kind of neon-y.
It's very like retro RGB neon with like pink and blue, because that's it. I don't know if you saw, but you got the same thing when you buy your OLED Steam Deck. You get unique Steam like inventory items or whatever.
Yeah.
But, I have 14 years of service as a Steam soldier there. So 14 over the course of 14 years, kind of evens out at least a little bit.
Whereas I have 3.
And I wish, dude, can you imagine if the like hours of playtime statistics?
Yeah.
Number one, some of that is like, I pause the game and I go take a dump or whatever. But there's a thing that I maybe one day this will be invented. Imagine if you could see your playtime like on your Dreamcast from back in the day.
Man.
before that was a stat that was tracked on like Steam and EA games and whatever. Like if I could go back in time and see how long I played Legend of Zelda Wind Waker,
Oh my goodness.
or Metroid Fusion, or Zero Mission, or Pokemon anything, red and blue and gold and all that stuff. Oh my gosh, that'd be wild. What game do you think you would have the highest of all the games you've ever played ever? If you could pull up like the DEG profile of all games ever, what would be at the top as the most hours put in?
Oh gosh, several of the games you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Metroid Zero Mission, Metroid Fusion, Super Metroid. I'm a big Metroidvania, fan.
Right.
Which I haven't talked about on this podcast at all, really, but I'm huge. So I grew up in the era of Super Nintendo. Like my first video game console was the SNES. My dad got it for the family when I was like 5, in like 1995, and
Right.
those are some of my earliest memories. Oh man, probably if you count my brother and our time together on Grand Theft Auto 3, certainly that game.
Oh yeah, I think so.
But me by myself, okay, I'll give you my top 3 in terms of hours played if I were to just guess. And this is not first, second, third. This is just what the top 3 would be, right?
Right.
Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic would certainly be in the top 3, like, without a doubt. Played that a lot. Super Metroid would be in the top 3, and then Mega Man X. Those 3 games.
Oh, that's right. We've talked about that. Yeah, you're a Mega Man dude, or were. Yeah.
Yeah, Mega Man X, like the original the original Mega Man X game for Super Nintendo.
Right.
I was never super into the original Mega Man games for the original Nintendo console, because I didn't own one as a kid. My best friend next door had the NES, and we would go over there and play Mega Man, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, all those. But yeah, Mega Man X, Super Metroid, and God, what was the other one I said? Knights of the Old Republic. Those are the 3. What about you?
Well, I was just going to say, with KOTOR, a third of your playtime was the install. Do you remember the 4 discs it came on?
Oh my gosh.
In the package, it was like, all right, please insert disc 2. And I was like, all right, cool. This is, wait, please insert disc 3. Oh my gosh, only halfway. 4 CD-ROMs. I think KOTOR's up there for me too. But since you said that one, I'll also echo Metroid. I played Metroid Prime on the GameCube a lot. And I farted my way through that game, just kind of, dodge, duck, dive. Let me just do it myself, grinding through, dying. Because I was a kid and like, it was kind of a twin stick shooter, but not really. It was literally a one stick in terms of, navigating. But the controls were a little hard for me at first. And I remember thinking, this game is scary. I'm going to take a break. Like
that game is super atmospheric.
Yeah. And so I spent a lot of time playing Metroid Prime, and then also the second and third ones when they came out on GameCube and Wii. And I think one of the reasons Metroid Fusion is up there is because I was so bad at it. I was used to Metroid Prime, and I actually backtracked for Metroid Fusion on the SP. And so my Game Boy Advance skills were not very good. And I hadn't done a lot of side-scrolly stuff. Another one, let me hit you with this gem. Worms. Did you ever play Worms Armageddon or Worms World Party? It's like a turn-based...
I saw that game constantly. I never played.
Dude, it is such a riot. I have like classic... you remember the days of like on the web, like Flash games where you could go to like... miniclip.com or whatever and play these like little games. Worms felt like that, but it was something you could play on PC. Anyway, I played various iterations of the Worms games a lot. And then the last one I'll say, when I finally was a PC gamer on my Pentium 3, whatever ancient dial-up desktop the family had. Do you remember the official, not a mod, it was like an Age of Empires clone for Star Wars? I can't remember the name of it. I'm gonna have to go look it up. But it was like, not Battlegrounds, because that was a different thing.
I know what you're talking about. It was an RTS. It was like Warcraft 3 or yeah.
I think it was because there was one that came out down the road. Galactic Battlegrounds. Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds.
I never played that game, and I always wanted to.
Yeah, I played the crap out of that game. That was one of those CD-ROM, actually put it in your computer, install it games. Empire at War was something that came out later that was like updated and different. But I played Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds, like told my parents I had gone to sleep, but I had like a Sony Vaio desktop that was like in my room.
Yeah, you just turn the monitor off, and your parents don't understand technology, even though your dad, flies fighter planes for a living. But a monitor being off, like that really fools him.
Yeah, I definitely pulled a fast one on him more than once. But oh my gosh, that was a good one. Maybe one day the technology, there'll be some kind of AI quantum computing solution to like dig into your brain and like how many hours did your eyeballs look at Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds? And it's like I don't even want to know.
A game that I definitely left out. It hit me about 30 seconds ago. Is Final Fantasy VII. That game stole half of my childhood. And I had a friend growing up who like introduced me to that game. He was like a year older than me, and next door neighbor sort of thing. And he had Final Fantasy VII for PC, which is actually like a port of the original for PlayStation, right? But that was the first time I ever saw that game. I went over to his house and he was playing it, and I was like, "This game is really cool." And dude, I'm telling you, there was like a year where I would just go over to his house and watch him play Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
There was like a year where he played that game and beat it with me watching it before I ever even played it.
I had friends like that too, where like I would go to his house and he would play his thing, and then he would come to my house and I would play my thing, and we would just talk about it the whole time. It was so engaging because, especially if your friend had a console that you didn't have, and you didn't have the ability to just walk over to GameStop and freaking buy one. It was super fun to do that. I remember that very fondly.
Well, and this is back in the days when rarely were games multi-platform, right?
Yeah,
and so
that's
for
true.
those of our younger listeners out there, some of you cannot remember a time where that was a thing, right?
Right.
But in 1997, that was very common. Final Fantasy VII was only for PlayStation and then later ported to PC. It never came out for Nintendo 64 or Xbox or
right. People that played on PC generally had a good time of it eventually.
Yeah.
Because the PC community would have just done it their dang selves and put it on the Pirate Bay or whatever.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
They eventually, all the developers realized that there was this growing PC community that wanted to play games on there. And then, of course, in the past decade or so or more, I guess, couple decades, it really took off. So anyway, well, that was a fun little digression talking about some old jams. I think there's always a fond place in my heart for all those kind of games, and I'm sure we'll continue to revisit that kind of thing. Well, folks, thank you so much for listening. Greg and I really appreciate it. I know Jared wasn't here. We'll make sure that he has a nice long segment prepared for you next time. But thanks for listening, and make sure you share. Tell us all about what you think. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, leave a review on Apple Podcasts. That helps the algorithm. And if you're already on Spotify listening to us and you're not following the podcast, you should, because that makes it easier to get updates from us. You'll get notifications about when we post again, and each Friday-ish as we upload. You won't miss a beat. So until next time, thank you so much for listening, and don't forget, get out there, go touch some grass.